Hi and welcome to the Optics tutorial. Here we'll be taking a look at the optics engine in FXhome and VisionLab Studio. By the end of this tutorial you should have a good grasp of the main concepts. Optics have many uses. The most obvious is as a lens flare. It can also be used in special effects shots, such as a star in outer space or perhaps a fake headlight. Optics can also enhance existing lighting on set, perhaps overcoming problems in a camera lens. Alternatively, they can be used to provide interesting grading techniques, colorizing parts of the frame. After placing an optic engine on the timeline, you can see that it contains several different toolset tracks. At the bottom are the standard 3 you can find in any object. See other tutorials for more information on those. The optic itself is split into 2 sections. Optic shapes is where you construct the overall appearance of the effect, choosing from several different shapes to build the optic. Optic movement contains the tools required to animate the optic design. As usual, clicking the object's title track displays its properties in the toolbox, where you can change the composite blend method. Different blends can create interesting results, and it's often worth experimenting with the settings. The Optic Shapes toolset displays all the available shapes in the browser at the top of the toolbox. You can use as many or as few of these shapes as you want to design your optic. To add a shape to your optic, simply click it in the browser. The shape's attributes are displayed in the inspector at the bottom of the toolbox. Different shapes have different options, most of which are self-explanatory, and experimentation is the best way to find out how they work. All shapes share 3 crucial attributes, however: distance, offset X, and offset Y. These are used to set up the optic chain that automatically animates when you move the origin point. This chain forms an invisible line between the optic's origin and the centre of the screen. Distance moves the shape along the chain, with 0 being directly on the origin point. Moving the slider left moves the shape away from the centre of the screen, while to the right moves it closer. Offset X moves the shape horizontally. It will keep its relative position as the origin point is moved. Offset Y does the same but vertically. This enables each shape to be positioned separately to suit whatever kind of optic effect you are going for. Here you can see several shapes have been applied, all with different distance and offset settings. This constructs the optic, which can then be moved as a whole using the Optic Movement toolset. Once you've arranged your shape layout as required, it's time to switch to the Optic Movement toolset by clicking its track on the timeline. The optic's origin handle is now visible on the canvas. This can be repositioned, and the lens flare will alter accordingly, following the shape's settings. The optic flare itself can be turned on and off with this toggle. This can be useful if you need it to pass behind something temporarily. The coordinates of the origin are displayed here, and can be altered manually if necessary. Tween strength alters the type of animation. A value of 0 will cause the optic to move sharply from one keyframe to the next, while a value of 1 will create a smooth curving movement. Length shifts the optic chain, altering the distance between shapes. Note that this will only be visible on shapes that have altered distance settings. Scale alters the size of the entire optic, but keeps the relative positions of the shapes the same. Rotation can be used to rotate the shapes. Obviously this does not affect some of the circular shapes, but the lines, stars and polygon shapes can all be rotated. Know that this setting only affects shapes that have been set to controlled rotation in their shape attributes. Seed affects the spike shapes, with the seed number altering the layout of the spike lines. If you want the spike shapes to remain the same throughout the effect, simply leave the seed unaltered. Transparency obviously alters the transparency of the entire effect. It can also be used to intensify an effect by raising it above 100%. That covers all the basics for the optics engine. A good way to learn more is to investigate how the optics presets are constructed. Check out FXhome.com for more video tutorials.